to the lotus. And I believe that's it for announcements. Today's discourse is on collective consciousness. And this is specifically relating to our inner and outer environments. One thing that we all experience as human beings, even if we're off being a hermit somewhere or isolating, we come into contact with other beings, other human beings in our life. We may work with them. We may have groups or exercising groups or prayer groups, a lot of different places where we encounter other people. And even if we don't have groups that we go to, we may have people in our family. We were born from someone, or maybe gave birth to someone. So we also have these or brothers and sisters that we may be in contact with, or even the act of watching TV is a form of interacting with other human beings, other beings. So at this point in time, most everybody is interacting with other humans on some level. And having experiences, whether it's watching the news and having frustration, watching the news and feeling sadness, watching a TV show. I was watching a TV show that was supposed to be funny the other night, and it was actually scaring me, so I had to turn it off. That's like, it's supposed to be a funny show, but some things in it were just like triggering fear. So this is kind of what we're going to be talking about as well. But not just watching TV, but being around other people and feeling the vibe from other people. And if we're watching TV or social media, social media is another way that we interact. And this outward world, which is a lot enmeshed in this collective consciousness, comes at us. It could feel like it's coming at us. And one of the things with collective consciousness and our own consciousness is for us to consider being super aware of what is right in front of our face. These things can show us exactly the areas that we need to heal or address. So if we use this show on TV, what they were doing was going into a secret passageway. And I know this is like, so my fear came up, fear of like claustrophobia, kind of like going into a secret place, and I'm sure there's more to it. And I haven't exactly addressed that one yet. But what it is it's our guides and our consciousness directing ourselves to the issues and that we need to face. And this TV show that was supposed to be funny, that kind of like is just one example, because It could be on the news, it could be at work. And it gives us a chance to, there so many opportunities. It gives us so many opportunities when we're out in the world and seeing this collective consciousness and how do we react. One thing that comes up is judgment, control, especially when we're working with other people and we're seeing them doing behaviors that we don't approve of or agree with. So we start to judge them, and if we're being conscious about it, we start to kind of process it and reflect within and say, why am I attracting this situation to me? And we may go to the spiritual principles, peace, understanding, harmony. And we might start to incorporate those virtues into our relationships, or applying them to the news when we're watching the news. Something that we need to really watch for is, are we making excuses for other people's behavior? Excuses and being understanding are different things, and they have different impacts on our loved ones, coworkers, interactions in general. And if we're doing it outwardly, we're also doing it to ourselves. And why does this matter? So before we go into the difference between understanding and this making excuses for someone, we want to talk about how our being impacts the collective consciousness. Each one of us plays a role in the upliftment of humanity. And as we're taught, the greater controls the lesser. If we are swayed, and again, paying attention to what's happening outside of us, around us in our environment, can show us how we're being swayed and how we're being moved and what we need to face. If we're just going along with the, let's just take now, for example, there's a lot of, still stuff going on with the coronavirus, and then systems are starting to get really shaky in the United States. And there's a lot of complaining, there's a lot of despair or desperation, all these different kind of energies happening right now. And a lot of us are just going with it and just feeling that way. Yes, there's racism, there's poverty, there's child poverty and hunger in the United States. There's all these different things coming up that we're having a choice of how we're going to react to that. So as light workers, we continue the work. We continue the being and the healing and the transmutation. The transmutation happens within. So now let's go back to this outward world, which could be coming at us, and we meet a person who is doing things that we don't agree with. and we are loving beings, and we want to show that we care. And we say, I'm understanding. But as we do that, we start to make excuses for the person's behavior. They're acting like that because this happened to them. They're acting like that because this didn't happen to them. They're acting like that because they have too much to do. They're acting like that because they are lazy, okay? Or just making excuses for other beings in the name of understanding. Making excuses for someone is not understanding. It's not truly being understanding. As soon as we start making excuses for somebody else, we are locking them into that image. They do that because of this, and it's okay. We are locking them into a way of being that they may not necessarily agree with, or it could not be the reason why they're doing that. It could be our perception, but it doesn't make it truly what it is. And quite honestly, if they didn't ask us, it's not our business. Being understanding has a light, like at the end of the tunnel. To be truly understanding, we can notice if we're making excuses for the person, and then let it go and accept it for what it is in that moment. And rather than trying to control or trap that person with excuses, what we can do is we can go within and reflect on why are we attracting this situation. And we can go within and truly transmute the energy within us, so that we do have that understanding that by them giving, and that's a gift from them for us to have freedom. They are giving us a gift of freedom from being bound. We didn't even realize that we were bound. But because it was placed in our consciousness, we were able to reflect on it and transmute that. And by doing that within ourselves, we're also doing it for everybody around us. And we are not only freeing ourselves, we are freeing the other person from our limited belief system that we're holding. So this is maybe it's a habit of the collective consciousness to make excuses or do those things. And it may seem harsh, if you're being your authentic self, they have the right to be themselves if they choose to be that way. Just as I have the right to be myself if I choose to be that way. Anybody gets to be themselves. And there's no point in judging. The only point is for us to see the reflection and to transmute it within ourselves so that we can let go, so that we can relax, so that we can be in the flow. And this is really important right now because as things are changing and shifting, how are we going to be reacting? Are we going to be blaming? Are we going to be making excuses? Are we able, in the midst of this collective consciousness, to maintain joy, peace, harmony, no matter what's happening around us? The past month, the ministers have been talking about peace. Be still and know that I am God. Are we able to see that all of these situations are what we are attracting as a collective consciousness? And if other people aren't doing it according to our perspective, can we accept that without judging them? Can we trust that all these beings in our life are doing exactly what they are supposed to do? Can we trust ourselves that we are doing exactly what we are supposed to be doing or being? Can we accept ourselves and therefore accept others with real love? Love is not making excuses for someone. We don't need to do that. It's trapping them. It's closing the door. And it's really none of our business. Our job is to, if we perceive that, if that's our perception, that's our opportunity to reflect within and take care of it here so that we can walk the walk, so that we can be love and be light. So we need to notice, pay attention, what energy we're carrying, how we're reacting. Are we okay if something happens, but it really didn't happen to you? Having empathy and care and love and love, like the love, is helpful for the situation, but notice the fine lines. And it's okay to feel sad or happy for that which is happening around us. But how long do we get caught up in it? What pulls us away from our purpose? What pulls us away from our joy and from our love? So they say, like, the climb up the mountain can start to feel lonely, or whatever stuff they say, but even that doesn't need to be true. We can be around people, accepting them for who they are, the gift of consciousness, for us to raise our consciousness, for human. If we start doing this collectively, it's a collective ascension of consciousness. So release the judgments. Don't make excuses for people. It doesn't mean don't love or don't be understanding. But if you find yourself making an excuse or explaining their behavior and why they're doing something, stop doing it. Because that is us placing them like in a jail. And if we're doing it to them, we're doing it to ourselves. And we deserve freedom. We are free. We have freedom. And we have to use our power responsibly. So don't lock people up. And don't lock ourselves up. And allow yourself to be happy. We do not have to commiserate. If we're in a group that's commiserating and we're like, everybody's doing this, then we need to look at what's happening inside. What is binding us? So thank you for joining us today, and please prepare for a rainbow